Okay,
Well,
good.
the
As
lawsuit's
long as
really a
you're
good
okay.
thing. I saw somebody already trashing it, and you know,
Oh,
there seem to be about three major responses. You've got people who get the lawsuit right away and are gung ho and get after it. You've got
well, are there more
people.
than one though lawsuits?
No, there's
Or
only one lawsuit
okay,
that
okay.
I'm aware of, and then you have people that have genuine questions and they've picked up a few fears here and there, and then you've got the attackers and the trolls, and
Uh-huh.
you hear all
I
kinds of
saw
flack
you
about
having to
that.
deal with that on Daily Paul.
Oh
I
yeah,
was like,
I've already been
well,
dealing with it on your chat here. You got one on here already.
I attract trolls. I'm sorry. Trolls, be nice. But trolls vote too, so yeah, they're really be nice people.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. So we're catching so much flack over this lawsuit. We
What?
must be over target.
Yeah, well, I think it's awesome, and I've heard everything against it, y'all, like every theory against you, and you put it down, you know.
Well, the
Uh,
lawsuit's basically very simple. The lawsuit is suing the Republican National Committee and the chairman Reince Priebus and
yeah.
all of the 50 state GOPs and their chairman, basically for using coercion, threats, intimidation, and fraud in all of the conventions. I have yet to hear about a clean state convention anywhere. Everyone's been
Texas was
pulled.
okay, but it wasn't great, you know.
Which one? Texas?
Texas was okay. We got a letter from them to Ron Paul. So they were talking about how good we were, but still it was all not it was all rigged again. They made us
Video
think that we were.
team down there from Oklahoma, but so the lawsuit. I mean, the
I thought
Ron
it was
Paul
basically to
campaign has.
unbound.
What?
Sorry, I was just gonna. I thought basically it was to just unbound the delegates. Was what I got
Well,
out
yeah,
of it.
and it's all based upon federal laws and Supreme Court decisions that basically federalize all of the convention process up to and including the final election for president, because
Okay.
federal elections for president and Congress come under federal law, and so we're asking for a federal injunction to unbind all of the delegates so we can have an open convention. We don't want a brokered convention. We don't want Jesse Benton or Ron Paul or anybody else telling us who to vote for. I
Uh,
mean, the
I'm
Liberty
never
Movement,
voting for evil ever. I don't
yeah,
care.
I mean, this is all about the Liberty Movement, and the lawsuit is the tip of the spear right now between now and Tampa, and so that's why it's catching so much flack, because it is a good suit.
Yeah.
And so we've been dealing with it a lot, and there's genuine concerns some people have,
Hmm.
and we try to address those. And at the same time, after the suit was filed on June the 11th in the Ninth Circuit out in California, and it has jurisdiction over a number of the states and by extension through the whole nation. That's why they picked that there. And then we found out when one of the Ron Paul spokesmen, I won't name right now, was doing an interview on YouTube a week or two ago, and he started using language about the suit when asked about it,
Hmm.
and the language was legal language. It was not like you or I would use, but it's like he had been briefed off of some talking points from the RNC, and that's when uh, Richard Gilbert, our attorney, called a number of folks and said, hey, we need to have a mutiny against the Ron Paul campaign and declare our independence from the Paul campaign. And basically what they said in the press release is that the lawyers, the executive committee for the
Uh-huh.
lawyers for Ron Paul were taking over the Ron Paul campaign
Okay.
from the paid campaign management. And that's an awfully brash thing to say, but what that
Oh,
really
yeah.
means.
That's what I was getting from Carol Paul. I could tell that it was like they were in a little envelope. They didn't even know about Paul Fest, or it just, I could tell that they were. It's easy probably to seclude them from stuff too.
Oh yeah, are you
Um,
talking about the Doug Weed interview when he seemed
oh,
feigned ignorance about Paul Fest at first?
no, but Carol Paul didn't know. She was like, "Oh, we're trying to plan something down there," and I was like, "Oh, Paul Fest," and she was like, "Oh, I haven't heard about that," and I'm just like, because
One of the easiest ways to think about this is assume that Ron Paul is actually being held hostage somehow.
yeah,
He's under house arrest. He's
but
campaigning, but
You know what? When he gave that speech, or sometimes whenever he gives his speeches, I feel like to his supporters sometimes. You know that little twinkle he has in his eye, like when he's saying stuff like that he doesn't kind of want to say, but he's kind of like it was. I felt like it was a signal, like go ahead with the lawsuit, kind of like. And he was talking about how and be nice and blah blah blah, and kind of that little smirk he has,
Yeah.
I just like a signal to I can't talk about it, but but I want you all to keep going, kind of thing.
When I'm in my best, most optimistic moods, I feel that way. It's almost like one of those prisoners of war that's
Yeah.
having to renounce the United States while they have their fingers crossed or something.
Mhm.
I ran for the state legislature and got elected 30 years ago this year, and in Oklahoma. And while I was running, this is 1982.
That's when I
And
was
at that
born.
time, Ronald Reagan was the president, and he was proposing things that were not at all in alignment with what his
Republican.
whole platform and persona was: more government and more taxes and so forth. And
Mhm.
people, and I'd read in the newsletter, they said he's probably very well, in a sense, under house arrest, like there's been a silent coup. And he almost was killed by an assassin's bullet 2 months after he went into office. And when I told people that, when they'd asked me on the doorstep when I was knocking doors, they said, "What's happened to Reagan?" I said, "Imagine there's been a silent coup and he's basically under house arrest." And they would go, "Oh, well, now that would make sense. That would explain everything." So
Mhm.
I'm not saying that's the way it is with Ron Paul, but we do know that Ron Paul is extremely insulated from the grassroots. I know people that have known him for 30 years. They can't get an email through to the
Yeah.
guy.
I've tried for it's amazing, and I was just thinking when I was talking to Carol, just trying to get we would talk on Facebook a little bit, but I forget that she's they're in their 70s, and not that they're not sharp or anything, but they're not they don't know what's popular really on. They don't know if you could show them one blog and then another blog saying something, and one might be really popular, one might have two readers, but Jesse, I could see Jesse Benton showing that to Ron Paul and being like, so here's what they're thinking here, and here's what they're thinking, and he'd be like, okay, I guess we got to, you know what I mean?
Oh, I do know what you mean. I mean, Ron Paul's very big with the under 30 crowd,
Yeah.
and because they haven't been brainwashed by the mainstream media. But
Uh-huh.
I doubt if at Ron Paul's age of 76, he's a heavy Facebooker.
Yeah. And if
Probably
he,
not.
he
He
does get
doesn't
on there,
tweet
but he
much.
doesn't, yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so Benton and all these guys are explaining to him. I mean, Benton married his granddaughter, right? And
I,
and and
yeah.
so he married his granddaughter, and I've read things and heard things about Benton from
For
other
the
people.
job or what? Why did he marry? Was it an incentive? Didn't he want to be like a campaign manager before that or something?
Well, I think he had done some things. I'm not an expert on
Oh.
him, and
Yeah, we probably shouldn't speculate there.
yeah, we can speculate a lot, but we don't want to speculate a lot. But I feel very confident in saying that the campaign leadership has been infiltrated and compromised, because I've seen evidence after evidence that they are not running to win. And it dawned on me fully about the middle of March, uh,
Really?
and I'd been trying for 2 or 3, 4 months, talking with Doug Weed some, not a whole lot, but I had some ideas that could help, and nobody wanted to hear that. And I found other people have found those things too. And but they gave us in Oklahoma an official campaign coordinator who couldn't have done a better job if his intent was to sabotage the campaign in Oklahoma. And
Uh-huh.
that's the story I've heard in state after state after state. And I have yet to hear about one state anywhere where the Paul campaign came in and nurtured, worked with, and supported the indigenous grassroots leadership that
Mhm.
had been planted 4 or 5 years earlier with the first campaign. I know that's the way it is in Oklahoma. So this guy came in and set up a parallel operation, was competing, not communicating with the
Probably good
grassroots.
strategy,
Yeah,
that
and
we
so
were
they
all.
had, so we're pretty sure we lost the second congressional district because a lot of people got demotivated. He told people
Yeah.
that this campaign was not really about Ron Paul because Ron Paul couldn't get elected president, but this whole campaign effort was about Rand Paul in 2016. And he was telling people this in January,
Yeah.
and they got totally demotivated and
I was
demoralized.
I was ignoring him, and I was like, I kind of knew that they didn't think they could get elected, but I thought that we could still get him elected. Without I thought they couldn't sabotage that, or wouldn't sabotage it so much because really it seems really easy to get the man elected without them there. But
Well,
they,
I saw very easily how it could have been done, but I've talked with radio talk show hosts that have big shows that have been around a long time. Repeated requests they had to get Ron Paul on. The campaign just ignored them. Somebody
yeah,
was telling me the other day, I can't even, I should start writing all of these down, but somebody said he was coming on an actual train whistle stop, going to make a stop at a station and talk to
yeah.
the people. And the organizers said they could get 500 people out there easily, but the campaign said they didn't want any more than 100.
That's what they did in Texas too. They had it was like a brunch thing, and they didn't want more than 500 or something.
Isn't
I was
that
like,
nuts?
yeah. So we all did a sine wave, to try to get his attention when he was pulling up there with Carol. But I doubt he even saw us. All 2,000 of us out there. It's
And
just.
and what did people do to get into the luncheon? I guess they had to pay big
Oh, you had to
tickets,
pay.
or
Yeah, it was like RNC kind of big wig thing.
yeah.
And
Well, I'm quite sure that they are in cahoots with the Romney people, the elites, because there's the establishment has so many carrots and sticks they can use. Like they could go up to somebody and say, "Hey, Jesse, we've seen you on Fox News, and you sound pretty good, old boy. Why don't we have you on as a guest commentator 2 or 3 times a week, and we'll help you write your book, and you can start making the rubber chicken circuit and make 10 or 15K a pop, and that's a huge carrot.
well, I just don't understand why they even pay. I wish I think you should have a campaign where you don't pay the people; they just volunteer. Because I would do it for free.
Yeah, well, in a perfect world, that would be great, and you have to have a campaign like this with lots of volunteers, but there is a point you do need to have talented people who can afford to give full time and energy
Yeah.
and
But if you got to pay them to do it, it was not true volunteerism, and Ron Paul likes volunteerism, doesn't he?
Well, I would have volunteered to manage Ron Paul's campaign for less than the 500 grand Jesse Benton reported this year.
Yeah. I mean, I try to contact Benton like about once every week for probably, and this started in 2010 trying to and he wasn't on Campaign for Liberty. He wasn't responding on anything. So I don't know.
I see somebody's talking about the quality of the Ron Paul commercials in this campaign. When I first saw them, I thought, hey, those are really clever. And then I saw a posting from someone on one of the groups when we were talking about how the campaign has actually sold Ron out. And this guy was saying that how contrary to Ron Paul's whole persona it is to go attacking other candidates. And what they should have done in those things is to really have his messages loud and strong in a way that they were simplified and made easily understandable to the average person, and a good wordsmith could do that. I sent the campaign through Weed. I sent him a proposal I had called Conversations for Ron Paul. With Ron Paul, and this is back in January when he was getting beat up so badly on foreign policy. And I said, why don't you guys get Ron together with 2 or 3 experts in foreign policy and national defense, the kind of guys that he would have in his administration, and talk about foreign policy and national defense for an hour and a half, have it 24/7 on the internet, live streaming, and for people that want DVDs, overnight them out at cost.
Yeah.
And then I broke that up into about 6 or 7 other categories, on the economy, and I forget all the different things. There's probably one on the war on drugs and things like that, where people could actually educate. And it took me 3 weeks to get any kind of a response, and I was finally told, he says, that idea is brilliant, but it's out of my control.
Yeah, like, oh, it's too late now. And I was the whole women. They were doing the whole women thing, like who can get the women vote now, and Romney and Obama. The women are all disaffected. They were saying, and I was just like, I started Girls for Ron Paul in 09, I guess, to try to show how when we got 2,000 women all over the country that had the same Real Women Choose Ron Paul shirt, and I wanted to do a nationwide broadcast to just show all the women's support in each city, and I was like, that's simple, but that they couldn't do either, and that would have been great, right, when the Ann Romney was doing all her stuff and everything. But.
Well, of course. I mean, you know, for a campaign that encouraged the grassroots to go out and get organized and do things, uh, they didn't in any way use the grassroots in the way that the grassroots need to be utilized. Now I admit that there is a slim chance that it was not campaign sabotage, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be just totally, grossly incompetent.
Yeah.
But
or mind control. They could be under mind control, or I don't know.
Who could be so incompetent as to continually turn down radio shows where 99% of the listeners are the grassroots and the people that would love Ron Paul? And if you said, hey, I want you guys to get out and do this and do that, I mean, we could have made direct appeals to the grassroots in all kinds of ways. We know the media is out there, but they just didn't do that, and they could have. But you know, if you're a bookie or something like that, and you bet on sports, and you want to have someone throw a basketball game, they don't just not show up; they just miss a few crucial shots. What the Ron Paul campaign did is they went through the motions of doing a campaign, but and it looked like they were doing a campaign. They sent out mailers and they collected money, and they were really good about taking grassroots people and putting them on phone banks, making all kinds of calls to build up a list that the people in the campaign can later on use to raise funds. Those lists are worth millions. And I heard, you know, a number of their questions: are you pro-life or not? Are you this or that? How do you feel? You know, there are like 5 or 6 questions. Well, they had an identified mailing list they could then use later on for direct mailings.
And Rand Paul thinks he's going to have that, and everyone's going to, you know, go along with it, but they're not. They're, you know, it's just. I heard he did some vote, you know, that he said he was. He had a kind of good interview with. No, he wasn't good, but he ended up passing some legislation just today. I think that was against. I forget.
I saw a headline that Rand Paul evidently voted for some legislation that was going to require the labeling of genetically modified.
That's what it was. That's what it was, yeah.
I didn't read any more than that, but I put Boo Rand on there just because I think I want, you know, that would be one thing that I think we should do. I mean, I think they have legislation now that you can't even say that.
Yeah.
But I want to know if I'm offered GMO foods, because I don't want them in my body. I've learned how. You know, I think they're poisoning us with.
Yeah, I'm pissed about it because I can't. You know, there's nothing. You can't even go into an organic store and get anything healthy anymore. Everything's contaminated, and then it you know, it carries over into the crops of other farmers. So it's just ridiculous.
It is. So, I mean, there's deception everywhere, infiltrating campaigns and liberty. I mean, think about it. The CIA is helped infiltrate liberation movements all over the globe. For 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
So why would we not think that they would infiltrate a liberty movement in the United States?
Oh, yeah.
With Ron Paul's campaign, and then there's trolls galore all over the Ron Paul Facebook pages, and especially on the Daily Paul. I mean, I was on one thread, and I was able to pick out about 5 trolls working as a tag team on one of these things. I mean, the lawsuit has brought them out.
And they'll be like, oh, you haven't been on here for long enough, so you're not, you know, that's what they always claim. You know, it's like, no, maybe you just have a life and you haven't been on there for.
Well, they say that, but they're getting paid to troll these things. You know, I've learned so many different things talking with people associated with this lawsuit, but evidently, and I have no way to back up what they were told, but we've heard for a long time that the Pentagon and others have all kinds of programs to troll the internet. But the figure I heard was 15,000 paid trolls worldwide.
Wow.
Many of them operating, or a good number operating out of Israel and the United States.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, think how many ex-military people are hired to do that because they can't get jobs. I mean, think of all the money the CIA has, NSA and all these people.
I know. Well, here's my question then. Well, what did they come after you then next? If you know, I mean, if you're the next, I mean, will they start threatening the lawyers for Ron Paul? I hope not. But
well, I hope not too. But I'll tell you what.
How can we protect you besides praying and doing our meditation every week?
Well, we need to do that, but the best way to protect the people in the movement is for people in the movement to stand up. we have to be inspired by our forefathers back in 1775, 1776. They were only a small percentage of the population, but they had a deep belief in liberty, and conditions
Well,
today are
unborn
even worse than
children. That
that.
inspires me. Unborn children.
Well, that too. But our forefathers, they pledged, we mutually pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And some of them died. Some of them lost everything they had. They lost families. And, how can we do any less? How can we do any less? And, we're obviously going to get up against very bad, evil people that control the world and control both the major parties. And
That's the thing. I have a question. Well, whenever there's like central power or government, or yeah, central power, isn't it always attract evil? So I mean, it is eventually. And how could we stop that from happening if we do clear out all the corruption this time? How do we truly stop that?
well, the more severely limited the government is,
Okay.
and constrained by the chains of a constitution, the less likely you're going to have that. What we
Right.
need to do if liberty prevails, when liberty prevails, we just have to think positively about that. We have to fix the
Yes.
Constitution, and we know a lot more now. We know the pitfalls a lot better, and we just have. We're in this revolution right now, but it's a worldwide phenomenon. And here's
Yeah.
here's
A
something
true
else to
revolution.
remember is that this is a spiritual movement. I've realized that
Amen.
for quite some time, and the scripture is very clear that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. I mean,
Hmm.
that's straight out of the Bible, and Jesus was a libertarian. I have no doubt about that. He wouldn't even
Totally.
force the gospel on you,
Yeah.
He basically
Did
said
I?
some
Oh,
will and some won't.
yeah. Did I tell you how Ron Paul saved my life? That
No.
story. He basically I was end up I was just so brainwashed, but I ended up after college I got raped and I kind of suppressed it and when had amnesia, dissociative amnesia. Anyways, I found out I was pregnant in 7 months and I had been subconsciously I guess not. Well, that's a different topic. But basically, the whole time I was reading Ron Paul's books and like in the Fed and everything, and I was, it was like I went to this adoption dorm and stuff, and I would watch C-SPAN all the time, and all these other girls were like, turn it off because we all shared, the same room and stuff. And anyways, but seeing him in, get up against Bernanke, and then all the stuff from his, just the 30-year record, I've never seen a man with integrity that I could see, up there. And so he gave me hope, and I was like, if he can do that in Congress for 30 years and lead his family going back and forth, then I can freaking have a child. So he kind of helped me to get through that, and then I placed her for adoption and got screwed over there, and so I learned that I needed to learn my rights, and then I got all these other women, birth mothers. So basically, it's like another government. Adoption's another government thing that's just trying to micromanage people's lives and taking advantage of people, and so that was my way I got into the movement. But he's my pro-life candidate for sure. I like to sell him on that, but
Well, most of us in this movement have
stories.
we've suffered injustices time and time again in our lives, and it tries to injustice tries to squelch the human spirit, and but we fight against that. We all do it in different ways, but when we find the message of liberty, it inspires us. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
tautological statement, but liberty is liberating. It frees
it is.
us, and
Uh huh.
Christ came to set the captives free,
Uh huh.
and that's what liberty is all about, is setting us free. And this movement, and I've talked to a number of people, people older than I am, younger than I am, different stages of spirituality,
Uh
and
huh.
I never have anybody say, no, there's nothing spiritual about this. Everybody feels this. There's something that's bigger than us.
It
It's
feels
obviously a
right.
historical social movement, but I think God's hand is in this, and we have to operate on those promises, and we have to act in courage because we just have one lifetime, and if we won't live our life to the fullest
Amen.
every in every minute that we have, if we
Yes.
won't do that, then then what's the point of living a half life? And
Yeah.
we can die any time in any way,
Uh-huh.
and
You never know tomorrow.
we never
Yeah.
know. We never know. I mean, there's somebody right now out on the highway getting ready to get killed,
I
and that's
know.
the last thing they had in their mind. And so we never know when that's going to happen, but we don't want to reach the end of our life and especially on the last day or last moment think, boy, I sort of blew this day off.
Yeah,
We want to make the
definitely.
most out of it. And so,
Maybe I do that too much. I kind of will run my mouth off, just a little bit too much. But at least I'm not, I was totally the opposite way before, where I was just so, wanted cared what other people thought so much. And now maybe I don't care enough, but at least am honest, and that's why I wish that if I wanted to do, if I wanted to do what y'all were doing, the lawyer stuff, I don't have the credibility or anything. No one would take me seriously. So I'm so glad that y'all, with your credibility, like actually are, said, hey, we're taking over the campaign, and yeah. I guess people say that to you a lot, but thank you. I mean, because there's nothing we could have done, I don't think, legally.
about what now?
Oh, about the corruption in the voting system
Yeah.
and the way that we've been the whole
Well,
campaign.
I see a lot of courage in you getting on and doing this, and that's what's
Oh,
happening. One of the things I've come across working with the lawyers for Ron Paul is there's a book called Tribal Leadership that
okay.
really has helped me to understand why we've been so effective in Oklahoma without even knowing what we're doing, and I'm sure it's the same way around the rest of the country. But it's called Tribal Leadership. You can actually I just got the book, but you can get the free audio book download at triballeadership.net.
All righty.
I'll type it in here. But I would suggest, our goal is to help build tribes of tribal leaders.
Mm-hmm. And you don't even have to try to do it, really. It just happens naturally, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, it helps to be aware of what you're doing.
Okay.
Helps to be
Yeah.
aware. Boy, the trolls are going wild on this chat, aren't they?
Are they?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I don't.
They're certainly very witty. Certainly very.
They have
witty.
anything interesting to say? I wish.
No, nothing interesting to say. I've just been watching a little bit. I'm glad I'm not
Oh,
getting
okay.
distracted by it.
I usually like to debate with them a little bit, and I've convinced a few trolls, but at least, well,
True troll you can't convince because they're not being paid to be convinced. They're being paid to disrupt what you're doing.
yeah. It's
And to distract it and
but
drive.
there's some that are just in their mom's basement that really are just lonely. So, and they're up in the middle of the night, so I get to talk to them.
So do you hold this chat every night at 10?
Well, I have a radio show from 12 to 3 a.m. and I kind of got it that time first because I was nervous. I didn't want anybody to hear me, and then it kind of I got it basically just turned into this people calling in like hating Ron Paul and just yelling at me and calling me names and all these horrible things, and then a year later I'm still doing it, but they both, some of them, I just wanted to get the people that were late night owls, that weren't, I figured there weren't many people getting them, talking to them a lot. People that are up at 3 in the morning.
You're doing a good thing. I mean, you really are. We need more people doing that. I mean, that's how Alex Jones got his start, 17 years ago, and he's encouraging people all the time to go be the change you want to see.
Yep.
And which is, I love what he says when he does that, and so getting out there like you are right now, sharing this, you're developing your thoughts. It's in front of an audience, which takes a great deal of courage.
Well,
but it's a great thing to do, and you've obviously got a following. It looks like there's 21 people on here right now. That's not bad.
No, well, that's the thing. I usually get 500 trolls or listening a night, but on the radio thing. But I don't know if they'll. They're reliable too. They'll show up, when no one else does. Funny.
Well, heck, I show up.
Yeah. I was going to tell you that I was just watching C-SPAN because I'm a dork before the show, and it was about they were talking about I forget exactly what it was called. but it was about election reform and what laws they need to do to help election reform. Basically, they just wanted to enact more laws that won't work and that were actually self-defeating. And they were talking about something like charging or something. They were said, well, what are we going to do about charging? I thought I wrote it down somewhere. They said, no, that's not it. Oh, okay. Voter can't read my own writing. Voter cuging or caging, voter caging. Does that ring a bell?
It's what now?
Does that ring a bell? Voter caging.
Voter caging.
They said that on C-SPAN, and they were talking about that. That was one of the big things with the. I don't know, but it was just interesting. I wish I knew more about. I mean, I wish I could relay the information that I heard. I'm horrible at that, but.
Voter caging. I do not know what voter caging is.
Does Texas Liberty know? I don't know what he's saying. But anyways, they were just.
He's obviously the smartest guy on this chat. Tell us, Tex, what is voter caging?
Oh, he's an election judge.
He's an election judge too. Are you an Israeli, Texie?
Not with you. You know, I always said that I was going to leave the country if Ron Paul doesn't win president, and I was like, well, I can still be a Texan apparently, and leave America. That's a different citizenship.
Hey, is that Nally? That's who Texas Liberty is? Really?
That's who?
Oh, Dave Nally, RL Republican Liberty Caucus or whatever it is. I'll be darned. Well, trolling on the show here. Oh yes, the lawsuit's so bad, isn't it? Oh, the lawsuit's so bad, Dave. You know, we're just going to stick it to the GOP.
Oh gosh.
Doing well. And you started the show saying you didn't want any of that, right?
What, me?
Yeah.
About what?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, the yeah. Well, no, that's yeah, maybe, but that's a different kind. No, you're saying what you mean, and so I just don't like it when it's like, oh, or people agree. I don't like it when they just agree to. You know, when people say, I think the most common argument that always I hear is, you know, everybody knows that, you know, and I don't like it when the other person's like, oh, okay, yeah, I you know, automatically goes along with that. I like a fight usually, or a little bit of some different thoughts, you know, yeah. And usually it's like, oh, if everybody knows that, then I better shut up and go along with it.
Oh.
But I'm not embarrassed to ask and be the dumb blonde that have been my whole life, so. I'll ask any question. Voter caging is when party representatives challenge ballots based on a list of disqualified voters. Okay.
Disqualified voters.
Basically, the C-SPAN thing was just a bunch of Democrats they were trying to enact a law where you couldn't spread disinformation about campaigns, and they were saying, but basically what it would come down to is, you know, just people being inhibited from speaking out because they could be persecuted, I guess, because if someone thought they were saying the wrong info about, like, you know, what day the campaign was on, you know, or something, or all the emails that people send out but I guess that would apply to the Ron Paul campaign when they sent out the emails for donations and stuff when they weren't really considered running.
Well, I wrote that today. You know, if here's the deal: if the leadership's not really running to win the campaign, and they're running fundraising money bombs, and it's all under the ruse that they're in it to win, then they're actually raising money under false pretenses, which is fraud. They have committed fraud on the supporters if they weren't running to win it.
Yeah. Well, and does that? I guess Ron Paul is the leader of it, so you can't, you know. But I know he wouldn't do that on purpose. I think
Ron Paul is very isolated. Remember, he's 76 years old.
76
he's
years old.
He's a sitting congressman who has to keep doing his congressional job.
He keeps up his garden, so he's got other things going on.
Well, I have a garden.
You do? Oh, that's right. So
Well,
yeah,
I sell wholesale flowers. I don't grow those, but I have a garden. I've been gardening for about a dozen years, and it's a
that's awesome.
great experience. You get good food, and it's a great spiritual experience, and it teaches a
Seeds,
lot of lessons.
seeds are what we all need. I hear so much. The survival seeds, gotta have them.
Yeah. Well, I
But
had
yeah, so he has time to keep his tomatoes growing very well and keep the deer away from them. So he, he can't be that. And there's no way he's online as much as his supporters even.
Yeah, now
Um,
somebody has a question here.
oh, okay.
Daniel has a question. What is the point of the lawsuit if nothing is decided until after the convention? Well, the point of the lawsuit is to get an injunction before the convention, number one, which would, and the remedy we're looking for is to unbind all the delegates so we can have an open convention. But there's other purposes that go along with that. I mean, the lawsuit's a great thing, and we think we can win it.
Uh-huh.
I really
I
think we
think
can
so
win
too.
it, but it's also a rallying point for the movement. I mean,
Just show the mainstream too that because we'll all be there for Ron Paul Fest. Show how many of us really are there, and then you show the lawsuit. It'll be like, wow, there really was corruption going on for all the people that were
yeah,
not looking.
and we're highlighting the corruption. I mean, I've learned more about voting corruption than I've heard in a long time.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's worse than the 04, I guess they did that video on the voter ballots and or black box voting. I was all into that, and I mean, it's amazing that I don't even know why we do vote because it's just such a racket. But we have to try to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, here's a question. Ian asks if this is live or whether he's hallucinating, and I'm sure he's hallucinating.
Why
I
would it
know
not
we're
be
live.
live? What do you want me to do to prove to you it's live? I can show
I know
you.
we're live. But here's a serious question here. Will the injunction be in place before the convention? Uh-oh, 11:08. That's what mine says. Will the injunction be in place before the convention? Well, we sure hope so. That's what we're going for. Richard Gilbert, our attorney, is part of the 1% of
I've heard
attorneys in the
Gilbert's
country
name.
licensed to
Uh-huh.
practice before the Supreme Court, and so that's what we're working on. And he
I
said,
had Edward True on last week from Oklahoma, I believe, right?
Edward True?
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
the name. I've heard the name.
he's the one that I guess was on CNN and exposed it at the beginning or something.
Okay,
Well,
here's another question here. We've been chatting so much, we've been missing questions here. Here's
well,
one.
people are questioning credentials, I guess. Is that what y'all?
Grassroots RP is asking good questions. Could the
There's
injunction force them to re-elect delegates from bad state conventions? I doubt it. I doubt it. In Oklahoma, we actually have done a lawyer letter towards the RNC to try to get some remedy, but
yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
What about Rule 38 or 40 or 11? Could any of those work too as backups?
Well, we certainly hope so. Here's a question. Has Richard Gilbert ever argued a case at the Supreme Court? I assume so if he's licensed to do so. Daniel, again, there are some people who are questioning the credentials of the lawyers involved. Well,
I'm just
Richard
glad they're
Gilbert
involved.
seems to be quite qualified to me, and when I hear him, he's the main lawyer on the deal. And I am not a country lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I probably should have been a legislator, but I'm not a lawyer.
I say the less schooling you have, I say the smarter you are. But that's just
Here's Text of Liberty hitting the troll button again.
if you read. He's not a troll, is he? If you read the stuff they put out, it's hard. Oh,
It
no,
says
shut
of
up.
trolldom.
I gotta get that up. I put it on my blog. This because everyone was asking. I guess the lawyers for Ron Paul to put it out in statement form.
Here's somebody asking about the Romney and Son Ponzi scheme indictment. I'm sorry I haven't kept up on that.
Romney and
delegates at the RNC just vote for Ron Paul, then what? Will they be arrested? I hope not.
I hope so. Actually, I want to get arrested.
If we get the injunction, we're going to be asking also to have marshals sent to the convention, because I was a delegate 4 years ago in Minneapolis, and the difference between Minneapolis in 2008 and when I was a delegate in '88 in New Orleans, it's like night and day.
I bet.
New Orleans, we just walked in and out of the arena there. It was actually where the Super Bowl is. You know, whatever. I don't even remember security there. I'm sure it was there, especially when Reagan came and so forth. But just during, there was nothing that made you think about security. But in Minneapolis, we had like, I mean, three layers of security getting in on the floor. They had at least 3 layers of visible security with guards wearing different colors of hats, blue hats, black hats. I got accosted by one wearing one of those long black matrix coats like
really?
Neo wears.
Well, someone was saying we got everything but the muscle, and you know, maybe that's we got the brains, and maybe, but we don't have the state behind us, you know, to enforce the, you know, stuff. But hopefully, I don't know, maybe we can, you know what I mean? They do have the muscle, I guess.
What is this? That was
still here?
Matthew Broderick on here.
Matthew Broderick.
It's over.
Well, did you hear about this stuff? The mass Republicans oust Ron Paul delegates on Evan Kennedy had just turned 18. Do you see that YouTube video where this?
What's that one?
Well, Kenny, his name is Evan Kenny. He's 18, and then there's 17 other delegates. They were disqualified for the Republican committee deciding who gets to represent Massachusetts Republicans at the National Convention.
Yes.
And
one of those delegates was already on our lawsuit as a plaintiff, and so.
Kenny? Or do you want more people on your lawsuit too? Do you want more people to?
We really would like to get every delegate we can that's going to be at the national committee there.
Do they have to be a delegate to? Well, I mean,
no, they don't have to be a delegate to the national committee to be on the national convention to be on the lawsuit.
Okay.
We have plenty of state delegates and county delegates and so forth, and we want those.
I was a delegate, but not going to. I was a delegate for state, but not to.
Well,
you know.
if you experienced any fraud anywhere along the way at your county, district, or state convention, go enter your testimony and become a plaintiff in the lawsuit. I mean, those who become plaintiffs will remember when they stood and became plaintiffs. I look at being a plaintiff on the lawsuit in many ways like, without stretching it, but like the signers of the Declaration of Independence. You know, there are people who are standing forward and saying the Republican Party has committed election fraud, and this is how they did it. And it was just rampant in Oklahoma. It was rampant in many states. And so I think you'd enjoy doing that. But, you know, hopefully we will, if anybody that becomes a plaintiff that goes to the national convention will have litigation privileges and protections by being a plaintiff. It's the same kind of protection you'd get if you were somebody that was filing a discrimination lawsuit because of someone violating the EEOC laws or something like that in employment. I mean, you actually have that kind of federal protection, and we think the judge is going to rule favorably on it, although they can always buy off or threaten judges too.
Oh, yeah. Well, so, then, but that's just the self-defeatist. Like, you could say that about everything. Like, what's the point in even trying anything in life, I guess?
Yeah,
and that's what some people say.
I mean, if the legal system's totally gone, you know, we're toast anyway. But here's a question. Now, this is a good one from Texas Liberty. The other problem is that with everything that could be done, even with the lawsuit, there still won't be enough RP delegates to take the nomination. Well, that's a good question.
There still will be. There still will be enough.
Well, here's my response to that. We have 2 months to go between now and the election.
Yeah. He doesn't know how we're covertly acting behind the scenes, the women. I mean.
There you go. But the European economies are crumbling, and that's going to come over here to this country. More and more people are going to be waking up to the economy. It looks like newly christened neocon Barack Obama is ready to go to war with Syria and maybe go to war with Iran. That's going to get people even more open. You know, I think that anything we can do to open up that convention right now, raise awareness of the fraud, will only count in our behavior. Because here's the situation that I have found in Oklahoma, is that and we have a full slate challenge of the slate that the executive committee of the party put down, 25 delegates and 25 alternates. You know, we beat them up pretty bad in the congressional districts, but they cheated at the state convention. But out of those 25 delegates that they put forth on their slate, we figured 60% were solid Romney supporters. There were like three
I've
people.
never met a Romney supporter, though, that'll admit it. I
Yeah,
still haven't.
well, I wouldn't admit it to you if I was. I pretend to be a Ron Paul supporter.
Yeah.
But I am a Ron Paul supporter. But what I'm saying is that we had a delegate meeting at the Republican headquarters a week or two later, just our first delegate meeting. And when I left that and went out to the parking lot, one of the people that was on the official slate of the Central Committee that was not a Ron Paul person came up to me and we chatted a little bit. And within 2 minutes, he said, "I've never been a Mitt Romney supporter." You know, and I assume he supported at least one or two other people before Romney. And if he supported one or two people before Romney, he had reasons that he rehearsed many times to other people why he didn't like Romney.
Oh, yeah.
Well, multiply that across all of the delegates going to the RNC. Now, many of them may be bound, may be intimidated. They're old guard people. They used to be young at heart, free-spirited libertarians.
Well, once we get them drunk at the Paul Festival. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that might be.
You know,
You
I
wouldn't
got
want
some
to come drunk
ideas.
at the Paul Festival.
I say we get a big ice douche in the shape of, I don't know, maybe Romney's head. Maybe they'll do it. They'll have, and we'll do we'll have the girls from Paul go out there.
So my point is that there's a lot of fluidity between now and then. If we want to have any kind of a chance, we need to unbind the delegates. We need to call forth Ron Paul, and the grassroots need to stand up. If we can get 1,000 people on this lawsuit, especially we've got 1,000 delegates from the National Convention. I mean, we're looking for delegates that supported Gingrich, that supported Santorum. Let's get them there to speak up for their people. Let's have a real convention.
I like this quote about y'all. It's like, for the next 2 months, the Ron Paul revolution will be revitalized by lawyers for Ron Paul and company in hopes of attaining justice for voters who have suffered from violence and harassment, as well as those who believe that they have been cheated by election fraud. With Mitt Romney having been named the presumptive nominee, the grassroots revolution has devised means to revitalize the campaign. And then they're basically saying there's 2 months to go, and anything can happen, And I really believe in the law of attraction, too, and just focusing on the positive. And it's going to work.
I think I think we have options, and if we lose the lawsuit, okay, but we tried.
Yeah.
And everybody that tried has developed their dedication. They've developed their skills. More people are meeting more people. I mean, I got to meet you and many other people because, but seriously, I mean.
Yeah, you're right.
I have made a lot of new relationships, and other people have too. So what we're doing...
That's how you know God's really in it, too, because of the way that it works out like that, huh?
Well, we're building the tribe. That's what's happening. So, it may or may not be God's plan for us to win this thing, but we're sure going to give it our best effort, because how can we do any less?
And who knows what a win really is? Sometimes, a win... I know, well, yeah, I want to win, but with Obama, if Romney, I don't want 8 years of Romney. I mean, I'm almost like, if it comes down to those two, I'm like, at least we could get Obama out of there sooner. But I don't want to think about that, If it came down to...
Well, it's an interesting discussion. Would we rather have 4 years of Obama or 8 years of Romney? And it's a tough one. I mean, we had 8 years of Bush, and it about destroyed the country and gave us Barack Obama. Republicans tend to forget that the only reason we got Barack Obama was because George Bush was such an awful president.
Is that anything but Bush, anything but Clinton, anything but stuff mentality that gets us every time?
That's right. It's the left-right paradigm that has brainwashed so many people. And that's how it controls their thinking about politics, and we have to bust that up too. So I look at all of this. This is good for us to be doing. We have to do that, and it's helping to build the liberty movement. I mean, even if we get Ron Paul elected, we're going to run into the problem that he seems to have trouble hiring the right kinds of staff,
It's going to be hard if he gets
And if he doesn't get elected, we have to go forth anyway. So, so the next step after whatever happens with the Paul campaign, what we have to do is to to have each of us need to take our states and dedicate to make our states free states. We don't have to move to New Hampshire to have a free state.
Hey, that's what I was just talking about yesterday. Yeah, I was like, I don't like the cold weather, so we're going to try to get it here in Texas too.
Well, I have an idea on that. How we have red states and we have blue states. What we ought to do, Ann, is have a little competition between Oklahoma and Texas to see which can have the first gold state.
Hey, that's a good
Liberty
idea.
is the gold standard of politics, so a free state would show up as a gold state on those maps.
One of my ideas was for the campaign for the campaign colors to be gold and silver in the beginning, not to be the regular, American colors, and that one didn't go over well with Ben, but just to emphasize the silver and gold. But yeah, that's a good. And then I guess we're trying to get 10. No, well, how many? How much? How is it gonna? I guess how much is it gonna hurt y'all to do this? Like, how much money is this lawsuit gonna cost, or is it?
The lawsuit's free. Richard Gilbert's doing this pro bono.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. I mean, a lot of people. If he wins it, that's obviously got to be good for his career. But we're not raising any money for it. We're keeping all talk of fundraising away from anything.
That's when people want to donate the most, I found, is when you don't talk about it. We'll go look for the donate tab somewhere.
Yeah, so we're not trying to raise money with this. In fact, this is all sacrificial work for all of us. When I got called about the lawsuit 3 weeks ago by one of our leaders in Oklahoma, and he asked if I would take a look at it, I did. I took a look at it, and I didn't have any time. I mean, when I got that call, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just jammed. And somehow I've been spending 10 hours a day on it since then. So suffering, and most of us are like that. But, we've seen the importance of it. And so it's the kind of thing that if we don't do it, we are shirking our responsibility. If we're given a understanding and enlightenment to see something, then we need to act on what we've been shown. And not everybody sees that. I see this all the time on a lot of these Facebook pages, and there are people that they keep asking questions after questions after questions after questions, and they seem to be gripped by a kind of fear that they didn't have just campaigning for Ron Paul by being for something different, but the possibility of actually putting their name on a lawsuit where it brings a little bit of extra attention to themselves, that's a pretty heavy thought for someone to take.
Yeah.
Because, who knows? I mean, but I'm already on the list. Whatever list they have, I'm on them.
Yeah, I put a link down there. I finally found the lawsuit that I was reading earlier that I guess Daily Paul had a link to it, but basically it's just the frequently asked questions about the lawsuit. Why was it necessary? What immediate remedy do we seek? And I thought it was really informative.
Oh, yeah. The frequently asked questions are really good.
517 U.S. 186, 1995. Is that the, or just...
Let's see if we have any other questions about the lawsuit, or... I've missed so much of this chat going on here.
Why are we asking delegates to participate in this lawsuit? Okay, we know that. What does the federal law state about protection of voting rights unbound? Okay. What about the lady in 2008 that sent the letter, the RNC lady that said everyone's unbound? Is that going to hold anything in court?
Yeah. Well, actually, that letter is in the lawsuit here, and where they're talking about Rule 38. So that already applies, but as a plaintiff, I would want to have the protection of being a plaintiff in the lawsuit. So if they hassled me on the floor, they'd think twice about doing it. And we do have a question here. What is Gilbert's strategy? Well, the strategy is basically to get the injunction of this lawsuit, and that's why we filed it so quickly. And June 11th, it's going to be revised. We're adding a lot more plaintiffs to it, and will be revised. I'm not sure when the final will be, but we're almost upon July right now, so I'd imagine we've got another week or two maybe to get this wrapped up, but I'm not sure about that. So,
did you see the one?
That, the next step is to go forward to Tampa.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
can the listeners help locate new plaintiffs? Is what one of them asked.
Sure. Yeah. anybody? Well, I mean, I think we've maybe found a possible new one with you, Ann.
Maybe, yeah.
If you haven't become one and you went to the convention and you saw
Well,
anything wrong.
and I mean, I know everyone in my SD23, little group, the one of or two of them at least have. So, yeah, everyone that there were so many different training meetings for delegates. I had no idea being a delegate was such a long process. Like it just, I guess that's why it made me. It's like the delegates are going, and you're having them go to Tampa, but you're not gonna saying you're gonna win. Like that's just they've sacrificed a lot of their time and just to go to these meetings and everything.
Well, this is a good question. Can the listeners help locate new plaintiffs? Yes. Anybody that has seen any kind of shenanigans or hijinks that break the rules, those are the kinds of things we put into the lawsuit. And we have another question here. Any solid proof Romney directed any wrongdoing, and are you going to release it? Well, it's tough to get that. We do actually have there's a great researcher in the movement that has shown me evidence that a person on the Romney payroll, and we have video of this, was actually handing out fake Ron Paul slates at the main convention.
Hello?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Is it cutting out for you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Sure, I hear you fine. Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
My computer was just cutting out. It's not very. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
So one of the things we want to put in this lawsuit.
You're so nice.
Oh, you're not talking to me.
Can you? Did you hear me? I was like, you're so. I said you're so nice. I just think I'm glad I got to talk to you. I like nice people. Everyone. Can you? Okay, I guess I guess you can't hear me.
Who are you talking to?
You, silly.
I can hear you. I've been telling you I can hear you. I thought you were talking to somebody else.
No, I'm and I call you Porter too. I hope you don't mind it. Does anybody call you that?
Well, sure.
Growing up, Porter.
What? Oh yeah, of course they call me Porter. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I know. I was just saying you're very nice, and I really like talking to nice people, and or you know what I mean. And I mean, I love just meeting nice people in America, and they're usually in the Ron Paul movement. It's great.
They are.
My best girlfriends have been all libertarian women. Are less catty, that's for sure. Something about them. They don't fight as much. So,
yeah. Hey,
but go ahead.
Hey, Ian on here is keeping us back on point here.
Okay.
Does anyone know anybody who are delegates that we can get be on the lawsuit? We shouldn't have so much fun here. We forget what we're here for. We've got to get people on this lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, we have to have fun too to get them to come, because people only, if it's not fun, what does Ron Paul say? If you're not having fun doing it, it's not worth doing, or something.
I'm going to put the place to go to do the
meetup.
Anybody who's a delegate. I see Rich on here asking a state or national. If you are a state delegate, or even a county delegate, or congressional district delegate, we're going after all kinds of delegates first. And if you witnessed or experienced vote fraud, you can be a plaintiff.
And post it on every Facebook, every Facebook county of delegates has their own page. And I know that they've been posting it a lot, but I'm sure we haven't reached every single county and every single state.
I just put the website on here. It's electionfraudremedy.com.
Yeah.
And what you do, go to electionfraudremedy.com and sign up there, and they have about a page or half a page of things to read to join up, but it basically says you're not going to be a troll on there. That may knock one or two out here, but or that you won't. I don't know. I forget what it is, but you get in there and then read the instructions, and then go look for your state. It's set up with a form for each state, and there's a place there where you can submit your testimony. You can look at other testimonies that are there from your state to get you ideas. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you want to only talk about things you can swear to, because when you're a plaintiff, you're actually going to notarize a plaintiff statement, and that's the same
Okay.
as giving sworn testimony in court. I mean, this is a serious thing.
No, I heard that if you're even another delegate, say if you were voting for or a Santorum person and you got screwed over, could you still do you still help them too,
sure,
or want
yeah.
them?
Anybody that experienced election fraud, we want Santorum people on there. We
Okay.
want Gingrich people on there. We want to open up the convention. That's what we want to
Well,
do.
in the Bible Belt, we got a lot of Santorum people that are just hanging around, not knowing what to do. So that's the big, the pro-life community. Because they just don't like Romney, and they will get behind Ron Paul if they know that there's something that's actually they could have a chance. I don't think they believe the campaign could win. Maybe now with this lawsuit, it's like people actually taking it seriously, so they might, get behind it. Hopefully.
For
What I
sure.
mean? Yeah.
Well, Ian's asking us to get serious again here. He's wanting to know how we can test the serious attentive level of the people listening right now, and that got a laugh out of it.
I like
who's
to
listening right now? Does anybody? I get it. He's getting to the point here. Ian's a good guy. I know Ian. I know Rich too. So who is listening right now that is either a delegate or has info about any kind of wrongdoing? Well, Rich Ellifritz says yep. So Rich, if you do, go to your state and sign up as a plaintiff. It's really easy to do.
To us too. You can tell us what it is if it's too.
What?
He can tell us what it is too. You can type it in and go do that. But if he wants to tell us what it is, if it's something, well, okay.
Well, he was probably at the Oklahoma convention. If it's the same one I know. Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
What about Louisiana? Yes, where they broke the fingers of the newly elected chairman right after he was elected, and they injured his prosthetic hip somehow.
Well, I was contacting the ones from Massachusetts that I was talking about. This 18, I guess they were young kids too. The ones that got, because they didn't sign the Romney, they would vote Romney, whatever, they got kicked out. And I think they will definitely, hopefully, call or sign on to the lawsuit. They should. So I was trying to contact them through YouTube.
We had one on there already, but we've been talking to, I think it's in Massachusetts, I think I heard, where someone told me today, and I cannot remember, so this may just be hearsay, but it was in the context of people where I'm talking about this, they were saying that Jesse Benton had actually been making rather frequent trips there, I think, to Massachusetts to work with the state coordinator, and they were sort of complicit getting the Paul delegates screwed.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen his YouTube video. One of the kids, he gave a speech, or kids, 18, but he talked about Ron Paul and it was his little spiel, and then he was talking about how it was just upsetting. He'd learned the political process doesn't work, and that to get it all turned around on him and everything. So they probably really want to, because that's when you're still. Think that everything might actually be what you thought it was going to be when you were younger, and then you realize that it's all a racket, and you kind of definitely want to do something about it that first time, Exactly.
I mean, it's one of those things about life that's just not fair, but it wasn't promised to be fair, but
I hate when people say death and taxes, because we don't have to have taxes, No,
we don't. That's where the propaganda starts.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we need to drop boxes of evidence. Okay.
Yes. In fact, we have a dedicated volunteer that's putting together a plan just for that kind of thing for drop boxes. It would be a place where people have YouTube videos or other video or whatever evidence they have, they can just drop it in that box, which I think is a great idea.
And I always want to remind people that, when you're videotaping and the cops tell you to give them the videotape for evidence, that don't give it to them because I guess in Louisiana, the guy, handed it over then, and we didn't get the rest of the guy being down on the floor, but they don't have, you have a right, they don't have a right to that. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
keep taping, people out there.
and
Don't.
I'm gonna have to get off here in just a minute, but
Okay.
I just want to really stress to people. I know we've been having a lot of fun here, and I don't know how many delegates are on this chat right now. It looks like, but anybody that was a delegate to your county convention, your district convention, your state convention, and especially if you're going to be a delegate to the national convention, please become a plaintiff in this lawsuit. In fact, there's going to be a conference call tomorrow night where they're going to
Okay.
have Richard Gilbert on there, and they're making arrangements to have upwards of 1,000 or even more people on that call to just talk about the lawsuit.
Okay.
I do not have that information right at hand right now. I'm going to
I think
talk.
I know where it is. I think I know what you're talking about. There might be there's a password too to get on it, maybe on.
Uh, yeah, it'll be on GoToMe or one of those kinds of things, but
My new job for tomorrow is going to be get all the delegates I can to sign up on the website. That's my
if you
mission
can
tomorrow.
do that, that would be great. I mean, go to the website yourself, and you'll already see who's on there.
Yeah.
And then you contact us, and we get you just some simple forms that actually the Arizona people help pioneer a lot of just the work on how to go get delegates. I mean, they just have some simple spreadsheet tools and so forth, but it's not hard to do. The same kinds of tactics that you all use to get people to your state convention. I'm sure you had people in your congressional districts dividing up and calling people to get them there to the convention.
Well,
You know,
yeah, but we had a lot. We didn't have to try very hard. We're pretty dedicated here in Texas.
yeah, well, we
Yeah.
did that in Oklahoma, but we had to get people to go to the state convention because it was the state convention was after.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
maybe it was just before they slowed. They'd made some kind of an announcement then, or something had happened, so people were losing.
Mhm.
There were people who were losing
Hope.
hope on everything, and
Rand
so
came out with his thing the day of the first day of our convention. He came out
yeah.
with his endorsement, and it was like, oh, thank you, Rand, for that.
Well, yeah, and we just had many people. A lot of people were disillusioned because of the dirty tricks that were being played at the district conventions or the county
Oh,
conventions.
yeah,
So
yeah, even there.
we had to
Uh
keep encouraging them that there were reasons for them to uh, come together here.
huh. I found
And
out I don't really like politics. I don't think, but I like principles, but I don't like the whole way it works. But maybe that's something that we can change, right? I mean, the way we're doing it now isn't the right, or isn't the
well,
way it's supposed to be.
I think we can. I think we can. I mean,
Okay,
to
then I'll
tell you the
go.
truth, I don't like politics either, but it's something that we have to do and we have to pay attention to. And a lot of people, oh, look, Ian got the information there. Look at that, everybody. If you want to go to the conference call, it's going to be on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And
Oh no. Okay. Oh well, that's okay.
Ian
Yeah.
Snow Carpenter just put in the information on that, so that's going to be at 8 o'clock Central, where I am, where you are.
Now, are you going to be able to come on the show tomorrow? It's 6 o'clock to Blog Talk Radio.
I wouldn't miss it.
Oh, awesome. Good.
I wouldn't miss
Well,
it, you know.
yeah, that'll be
We're
fun, and I'm
trying to
going to be
get
able to come on.
delegates here. You know, we've had technical problems tonight. We had a little bit of fun here. I hope to get a mic sometime, but I probably look better looking like a black and white microphone here.
well, no, I seriously, yeah, it's so much easier on the radio. I just, yeah, but it's, yeah. Hopefully, we can get some calls in, and people will be. They're more anonymous that way, so maybe they'll actually, tell us some real stuff, or I don't know. But it's usually easier to spread the word and stuff, and but I want you to be. You aren't going to be on that Will you be able to make You'll be able to make the conference call. We'll be done by then. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not. I'm just going to be on listening like everybody else. You know,
Oh,
so.
okay, Cool.
And
All
that's what
right.
I do. I talk about the lawsuit a lot, but I can't wait to hear what new developments might be there. But they're one of the reasons they're doing it is there's just been a lot of smoke being raised out there. A lot of it's been fear-based that people have been putting
Uh,
out. Just they've had this fear. Well, will delegates if they sign on the lawsuit, will they be removed as delegates? Well, the lawsuit specifically about that kind of a practice. If they're a
uh-huh.
plaintiff in a lawsuit and then the Republican Party tries to remove them from being delegates, that's just a further violation of their civil rights, and they're already registered as a plaintiff in a lawsuit for just that thing. And
Yeah, because
so,
Ben Swan was telling them. I remember that day or that episode was like, don't sign it if you're in whatever South Carolina or wherever that was. So they didn't do anything wrong at all, right? I mean, they don't have to sign that, correct?
well, they don't have to. I haven't heard anything of Ben's work in 2 or 3 weeks, but
Oh yeah, he kind of took a break. I don't
Rule
blame
thir-
him.
yeah, Rule 38 applies, but a person who's a plaintiff, I think, will have much stronger protection because
Hmm.
they'll be under federal protection against threats, coercion, or intimidation. And even though they have that right, they can be told they can't. We had at the convention 4 years ago, one of our delegates was actually, according to the rules, legally able to vote for Ron Paul. And so when we took our delegation vote, it was so many for John McCain and one for Ron Paul. But when Senator Inhofe got up to the microphone and announced it, he announced that Oklahoma went unanimously for John McCain. And that person, this is an example of how people get disenfranchised. That person who cast that vote was so pissed off that he quit the Republican Party when he got back. He went independent, and he hadn't been involved at all this time. So that is a typical example of how they try to disenfranchise people.
Hmm. But because basically what it is to me is it's not Ron Paul, it's not it's basically just in the Fed, get our children safe, get the stuff out of the GMO food, all this stuff that I feel like well, if we just stress that why do we want Ron Paul to win so much? Up to the moms, I'm always like, so your kids can grow up and like not have autism, not so we can end the wars. We don't have to go kill her, and just everybody. I always feel like appealing to their emotional side too. That's how I don't know if you know what I mean. I don't know what I'm talking
We've
about
got some
really.
good comments here. John Herbert says you have to start small and work big, can't start at the federal level and work down. And that's true. That's why we need to go to the state level right after this convention and set a goal in each state. I call it the Gold State Initiative. Set a goal for your state to have a liberty-minded candidate running for each state legislative office, each county office, each sheriff's office, and even going into the cities if you can, and put together a common liberty platform for each one of those offices. So each state legislative candidate could all put together, I visualize a 10-point platform with many sub-platforms, but we can
Hmm.
justify it morally, we can justify it constitutionally, and we can put dollars and cents to it.
Okay.
And as they start running on the same campaign platform, we can start talking about the same ideas all over the state at the same time. Basically, going to the Rotary clubs, we can have just people talking about the platforms. They don't even have to be candidates yet, but assume you
Well, and the
recruit.
kids too. I have a kidsforronpaul.com I made because there's so many dang kids that are smarter than us, and they're another way to keep this thing
They're
going.
coming up, but imagine having this platform, and imagine recruiting, and they could all be college students or just the minimum age if they need to. But hopefully, we'll get plenty of people that are settled in life and they have some skills and wider contacts, and get a candidate running for every state legislative office in Oklahoma. That would be, if we had it this year, that would be 101 representatives and 24 state senators. And if they were all running on the same platform, that would be newsworthy. And if they were going
Yeah.
around talking to their Kiwanis clubs and Rotary clubs and wherever and speaking about it, pretty soon the population would start to be saturated by these ideas, and we would be shifting the conversation
The
from the
paradigm
status
shift of
quo.
2012.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, think how Ron Paul has shifted the national conversation in so many ways just
Talk
in
about
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's
People who didn't
amazing.
know anything about the Federal Reserve today are against the Fed. They understand it. They're understanding inflation. Well, we can do the same thing at the state and the local level beyond that.
Hmm.
And those are up every 2 years.
What would you say is the hardest part about running for office, or what's like one thing that stops people the most from running for office
Well,
locally?
it's hard work for one thing.
Is
For another thing, you put your ego on the line. I've run
Yeah.
for the legislature twice. I ran for county chairman last spring a year ago. Did a 2-day campaign and got beat, but because I sort of thought about it the last minute, but we didn't have anybody running. But when you run for office and people are voting for you,
Uh-huh.
have you ever been voted on for anything?
Yeah.
There's your ego up there. Are they going to vote for me or not? I had to get voted on to be an alternate delegate. I'm only an alternate this time.
Uh-huh.
I almost didn't run because I was so disillusioned in mid-March when we had our 5th district meeting for putting our Ron Paul slate together. I thought the last thing I want to do is go be a darn prop for the Mitt Romney coronation. That's
Oh
how low
gosh.
I got. But I've bounced back from that now. And
Hmm.
so, running for office is not easy. I mean, and if you run for like the state legislature,
You need
plan
to
on
have a
not.
good history, maybe. Maybe not have a criminal record or felony.
That
Would be a
probably
plus.
helps not to have a felony record. It probably helps to have some kind of work accomplishments and have a
Speech.
have a couple of kids and a spouse, and all those things work together. Although I did see that a young guy that I talked with that just graduated from A&M,
Hmm.
he lives in Oklahoma, but he was an engineer from A&M. I was catching election returns tonight, and he beat I think a 10-year state representative who, this guy's like 24 or 25, and he beat a guy that's like 74, but who's
Aggies
an
don't
old
suck,
established
Hank.
guy.
Hey, someone's saying Aggies suck. They don't suck. They're better. They produce good people. Well, better than UT, if you ask me. I've dated guys from both, and they're way better from A&M. But go ahead. Sorry.
How large is your sample size?
Oh, growing up in Texas, it was UT and A&M basically.
Hey,
Um,
we like to have our Texas players playing your Texas players in football.
Oh, yes, right. Yeah, which is coming up pretty soon. No,
Yeah.
yeah, that's always good fun. I always say, I used to be a DJ, and it'd be DJ Brookie B mixing the sickest beats this side of the Red River. But when it was Red River Rivalry, is what we
You
always.
bet.
What,
Now here's John. His ancestor was governor in 1846.
hey,
Listen, John, you've got it in your genes.
it
Actually,
automatically be.
a
Yeah.
distant cousin of mine going back 15 generations maybe was the first governor of Oklahoma, but I'm not in his direct line. It goes back to 1630 with 3 brothers. But all that kind of stuff matters. There's a reason everybody who's active in this movement is here, and we
I
don't
think
know.
that might be related to Hancock, John Hancock. Not quite sure though, but we have a guy named John Hancock in our lineage around the time the Constitution was signed.
Well, that
So,
would be cool to have.
yeah. He wants to know if we can do a city test. City test. Okay, I'm Dallas.
State your cities now. Well, I'm going to put mine. I'm in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. And that's another.
There's
Were
New
you
York
there for the
City.
whole Oklahoma City thing then too? Or
Stillwater, Oklahoma. Yep. Baton
oh,
Rouge. Zilla, Washington. I've been in Zilla, Washington. I
really?
lived in Washington for 5 years. Yeah, nice place. Went to a wedding there.
Do you like
Concord, New Hampshire. All right.
where do you like the best?
Oh,
I mean,
Oklahoma, of course.
Oklahoma?
Yeah, Michigan.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes creeping up.
There you go.
Everybody from sincere for helping Ron Paul. Uh-huh.
Here
Yeah.
you go. Look at this power. All right.
I'm in love with a 76-year-old man. It's horrible, I know, but
Well, he's your grandpa.
I wish, yeah. He's just the best, it seems. And I love Carol too. She's just the sweetest thing ever. She'd be a perfect first lady. She can host like no other. So
Now,
we just
now Ian's writing something interesting here. What?
hey, Ron, Paul, Girl, and Porter. Look at the.
I'm waiting for your next sentence.
I know. Ron, Paul, Girl, Porter. Hey guys, look at the lock at the.
look at the power.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know, not on this side over here, but
Well,
the microphone.
I mean, he's looking at the city test. Aunt and uncle were
Oh
friends.
yeah, I know people that are delivered by Ron Paul. That's so cool.
So we have people that are paying attention here. We don't seem to be having many troll
And we're
comments.
recording it too, so
Recording. I can't wait to watch it.
you can see your microphone moving. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. The microphone's flapping. John's cousin was delivered by Ron Paul. What an amazing thing to have happen, you know.
Yeah, there's.
But so here's some power. So right now, and you've got.
We got power.
Well, you've got 18 people, if I'm reading this right, that are listening to this. Well, there's a certain degree of power right there.
Oh, that's.
People are here because it's not, you're not lording it over.
Better be more than 18. I mean, goodness, y'all know in 8 minutes. Go over to RonPaulGirl or blogtalkradio.com/RonPaulGirl, and I'm still going to do that one tonight too for at least maybe 30 minutes. I try to do it every night to be consistent, but yeah.
Alex Jones is the closest man to God.
Who? Oh gosh. Well, he's been going off on this not like or kind of dissing Ron and going for Gary Johnson lately. I don't know what's been going on, but.
Well, I haven't heard Ron. He hadn't mentioned Ron Paul in a few days, so.
Yeah, he got pretty upset.
I listen to Jones about every day, I've got to say, because there's so much good news there. But I get a lot of good news too. But I work at my computer, so.
It reminded me of Deborah Medina, the whole Glenn Beck, Deborah Medina thing. If you remember that one, where he got. So that was.
Beck shafted Medina, right?
But
yeah, that's not good. So
now we can say spreading the message, Mark Couch, because Santorum's not in the race anymore, and I used to want to throw up whenever we had to say spreading the message because of Santorum's name in the dictionary. But
now, do you do this show every night, Ann?
This one, no, just Tuesdays. But I have my own show, that I just do. I pay $40 and I do it every month, every day. So.
Well, let's we need to keep the chatter going on this, and I really do hope that people will join this lawsuit, because I would imagine, I mean, how many of the people here have been delegates to any of their conventions in their state? We talked about states, but I was one for Oklahoma.
Yeah, all my friends on Facebook are delegates for Ron Paul, basically, and so.
Well, we've been given our network of friends to help inform them about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I've been seeing
John
the updates.
Voted for a delegate. Does that count? Well, John, when you voted for a delegate, were you at a convention and guest was at a convention? If you're at a convention, you are a delegate to that convention, and if you experienced at any of those things. If you experienced anywhere, at any of those conventions, any of this kind of wrongdoing, please join the lawsuit. Be a plaintiff.
It says it local caucus. And then it just says it counts in the eyes of God. That is true.
That is true. Well, even local caucuses. If you had fraud going in a local caucus, I mean, we have one person on the Oklahoma suit that was treated so badly in their precinct meeting.
Really?
They were treated badly in the precinct meeting, and they were going on to the county meeting, and the precinct chairman said they were going to submit their name, and when they got there, the precinct chairman had not submitted their name, and didn't show up in time for the person to be a delegate, so they didn't even get to be a delegate at their county convention. Yeah,
that's some more shady stuff going. That kind of stuff.
There we go. ElectionFraudRemedy.com.
There we go. Well, I thank you so much for being on and for putting up with me and helping me get through it. Because I didn't have I didn't know much about it, but now I do. So.
Well, I'm
We're gonna
glad you're
get
going to
this.
get involved in the lawsuit. I think that
Oh, I get involved. I get a little too involved in stuff, but hopefully I can help a little bit. And I'll see. I want to see you in Tampa then.
well, sure. I'm going to be down there. I'm going to be down there actually for 3 weeks. So I'm planning on
Okay.
going to the Paul Fest right now. But one of the things I want to start a conversation on also about Tampa is that there's no freedom of political speech at the convention.
There
There's
isn't.
there's a no sign rule. When we were there 4 years ago, the Ron Paul delegates had people watching us, standing behind us where we were on the floor the whole time. One of them had been Ron Paul's campaign manager before he quit Ron quit in 2008, and this campaign manager, Lou Moore, then went to work for McCain. I think
Oh.
first he went to work for Giuliani, then he's working for the McCain people, and he was not friendly to us at all. So
Uh,
they watched us, they tailed us around the convention floor, and even searched us. And we had several people stopped and just searched on the floor by security. And the last night I was with an alternate delegate, and I went and sat up in the alternate seats, let my alternate sit down on the floor for a while, and she pulled out a sign that said legalize freedom. So in 1 minute, 2 security guards were there. They cleared out 3 rows. This is like in an arena, like a basketball arena or hockey arena, right?
yeah.
And they searched everybody there till they found the sign and they confiscated it. So, I'd like to get a conversation going on why at a political convention, when our country is in
Yeah.
such a great time of crisis, can't we have free political speech?
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, I haven't experienced that yet, but man, I'd be mad
Yeah. So you're going to be there, right? Paul Fest and all that?
about that. And you know what's great is the laptop, or not laptop, but the iPad. Hold it like this. If you're a girl, you know how you can hold your books like this, basically, and right there, right here is your camera, and you get everything from the whole convention on there. That's the way to
Oh,
do it.
sweet.
So just have
Sweet.
it.
Well, we ought to get you into the Oklahoma Ustream crew, the Fishes.
Oh yeah,
They were in
yeah. I try to
Texas.
use stream as much as I can, wherever I am, but haven't been to Oklahoma yet. So
Very good. Well, Ann, I've had a lot of fun with you tonight, and
good.
I'll be on with you tomorrow, and hopefully
Okay.
I won't have the technical problems this time.
Well, me too. Yeah, it'll be much easier.
Is it video tomorrow or just audio?
Just audio.
Okay. Wouldn't you
So.
know, my camera will probably be working then.
Well, if you get it to work, we might throw in a video or thing or something. We could do
All
both at
right.
the same time.
Well, I'm going to sign off.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Appreciate
I'll talk
what
to you
you're doing.
tomorrow.
Keep it up.
You too.
Your courage is inspiring.
Yeah, me. All right.
All right.
Bye.